We all knew that Luka's first game since being traded to the Lakers against the Mavericks was probably going to be a pretty emotionally charged and highlight-filled night, and this game absolutely delivered. From clips of Nico Harrison watching Luka warm up like a jealous ex-girlfriend, to Luka draining threes and staring down the Mavericks bench afterwards, this game delivered on all fronts. But behind all of the narratives that were surrounding this game, there was actually some really high-level basketball being played, with the Lakers showing just how lethal of a team they can be, built around the three-headed monster of Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves. So let's see how they did it. While Luka shot only 6 of 17 from the field, he was 5 of 10 from all of his shots inside the arc, and a big part of it was his deceleration against the Mavericks defense, being able to get both Kyrie and PJ to jump at the same time, just a split second before he actually goes up for the finish. And this deceleration makes it to where the defense almost always has to sell out on him when he gets a foot in the paint, drawing Dinwiddie, Washington, Christie, and Kyrie into the paint, leaving Austin Reeves wide open for the easy look. On this possession, it looks like it's a pick and roll with Finney-Smith, but it's actually going to be a ghost screen, and as Finney-Smith relocates to the weak side dunker spot, notice that Kyrie is going to float into the paint so that he can help on Luka's drive. This leaves Edwards and PJ as the only two defenders for the 3 Lakers on the weak side. So once Luka draws 3 defenders, Finney-Smith is going to set this pin-in screen so that Luka can hit Rui in the corner. Here, Reeves is going to be the one setting up for a screen in early offense, and the Mavericks are going to switch up their coverage a little bit by leaving 2 on the ball to show on Luka. But all this does is leave Reeves open in space, and since Luka has 2 on him, this is going to force Dinwiddie to tag off the corner, creating a wide open 3 for Vanderbilt. Again, Reeves is getting under the defense, giving Luka some space to work with and drive, and Washington completely leaves Reeves to focus on Luka. And you've got both Clay and Dinwiddie coming off the corners to help. What this does is it sets up Luka to make one of the most ridiculous passes I've seen this year, placing it perfectly into Reeves' shooting pocket and knowing exactly where he's going to be without actually having to see him. With Luka running in transition, the defense really has no choice but to be mostly focused solely on stopping him, creating back cuts like this, where Vanderbilt is able to get an easy feed for the finish. The Mavericks have the numbers advantage in transition, but Luka is going to mitigate that numbers advantage because he already has 3 of the defenders more concerned about him than they are about LeBron over on the wing, so this just creates an open 3. Now, when the Lakers were running pick and rolls with Luka as the primary ball handler, they were using the fact that the Dallas Mavericks were switching a lot of these ball screens to his advantage, not just to create a mismatch for himself, but to also get his teammates advantageous mismatches. Once he gets Kyrie on him, he uses this screen from Hayes to get Edwards to switch, not because he wants to have the Edwards matchup, but because he wants Hayes to have the Kyrie matchup, which is a huge size advantage. Luka is going to wait until Kyrie turns his back, and this is going to prompt Luka to make that drive left, waiting until he can get Kyrie's attention once he finally turns back around, and this leaves Hayes open in the dunker spot, and there's not really any help side defense there to stop him. And this was a big problem that the Mavericks ran into throughout this game, is since they have a pretty significant lack of center depth right now with Derek Lively hurt, Daniel Gafford hurt, they really didn't have a ton of the help side defense that you need to stop this Los Angeles Lakers attack that's kind of predicated on this Luka Doncic driving ability. Now, this possession ends in a Luka step back over 2 defenders, which is of course the eye-catching part of the play. But if we rewind to the beginning, we can see him do some really cool stuff. The Mavs are going to trap him with Christie coming off of Reeves. Luka is going to make use of this, faking the pass to Reeves in order to get Kyrie to make this top rotation, setting up the skip pass to DFS in the corner. And I got to give credit to the Mavs defense because the rotations were ultimately pretty solid on this possession, but sometimes with Luka, it doesn't really matter how good of defense you play. The funny thing is though, this shot actually ended up not counting. They went back and reviewed it, and it showed that Luka had actually stepped out of bounds. But a cool play is a cool play. Now, what was really interesting for the Lakers is how they switched things up when Luka would go on the bench, and it was Austin Reeves and LeBron on the floor. They were having Austin Reeves handle a lot of the offensive creation, and this served a couple couple of different purposes. One, it let LeBron simply get some rest even though he wasn't on the bench. He didn't have to shoulder as much of the creation load, which helped him stay fresh throughout the course of this game. And two, because of how the Mavs defense was playing, it actually helped Reeves get some easy mismatches that he was able to punish. The Mavericks were having Dwight Powell switch onto Reeves, and Reeves brings him into the corner to get him out in space, pulling him out with this move to the left before crossing to his right. And since Christie has to be there in backside help because of Powell being switched onto Reeves, this is going to leave Hayes in the weak side dunker spot, able to set this pin in on Exum, and Reeves is going to make a really nice skip pass to the corner. Again, high ball screen to get the Powell switch, and because the Mavericks know Powell is in danger of letting Reeves get by, Klay is going to end up ball watching a little bit, and this leaves Connect to make the backdoor cut, and Reeves is going to keep Powell away from the paint by pulling back out real quick before connecting with Connect for the finish. On this inbounds play, they have him get a couple of handoffs to set up the pick and roll with Hayes, and since Christie fights over the screen to chase Reeves off the line, Powell gets stuck in drop, and Reeves flashes his passing skill by connecting with him for the alley-oop. Even with Luka and LeBron on the floor, they were just kind of using them as decoys to make life easier for everybody else on the floor when Austin Reeves was operating as the offensive facilitator. He's got Washington on him, and Washington was operating as the only paint deterrence for a lot of the night. So when the Mavericks switch, Reeves knows Rui will keep PJ occupied. So he drives hard to the basket to get Klay on his hip before hitting him with the deceleration to get an open look at the rim. The Lakers didn't just have Reeves punish mismatches either, with Rui getting a switch onto a much smaller Max Christie, so Reeves just feeds him in the post so Rui can break him down for an uncontested look at the basket. Now, like I mentioned with Reeves, having him do a lot of the creation, having Luka do a lot of the creation, served the important purpose of keeping LeBron fresh for late in the game. And we saw how much this helped, with LeBron being a lot more aggressive as a driver, and he had the legs to get out and run in transition against some of the Mavs' more tired defenders. The Lakers made use of LeBron having the Dwight Powell mismatch now, driving on him here to get to the rim and finish. And then shortly after that play, they give LeBron the ball with 7 seconds on the clock, and LeBron gets by him to force Klay to step up and help, and it leaves the open lob to Hayes for the finish. Keeping LeBron unfatigued almost certainly helped his shooting as well, with the Mavericks making the critical mistake of doubling one pass away off of LeBron, and so he gets a wide open look to nail the three with the shot clock expiring. Now at this critical point in the game with the Lakers up 4, Luka's going to go against Klay and try to get a bucket with an expiring clock, and even though he misses, LeBron is right there, fresh as ever, to jump up there for the putback slam to extend the Mavs lead. It's more important than ever at this point in the season for the Lakers to keep LeBron as fresh as possible, and I think the integration of Luka has really helped open up those possibilities where they don't need LeBron to do nearly as much. Another important aspect of this game is the contributions that the Lakers were getting from a lot of their role players, and I specifically want to shout out Dorian Finney-Smith, because his defense was unreal throughout this game and it deserves its own attention. They had him doing a lot of roaming defensively since they operated a lot of the time without a true center. So when Kyrie gets the driving angle against Luka here, Finney-Smith is there to stonewall him and force the turnover. The Mavs wanted to target Luka defensively, and even though Kyrie is going to get by him and get the driving lane, DFS is there to clean it up and force an uncharacteristic Kyrie miss at the rim. This is an elite defensive possession from him, fighting over the screen and getting a handout. And so when Kyrie finally hits him, LeBron is going to have to tag the roll to prevent Marshall from getting anything at the rim. So when Marshall kicks it to the corner, Finney-Smith makes this beautiful rotation, sprinting out to the corner, and most importantly, he stays down on Washington so that he doesn't allow the blow-by drive, forcing him into help and ultimately the miss. He completely shut down Kyrie coming off this initial action, and then when Kyrie goes to get the handoff from Powell, Finney-Smith is going to get a hand in there to force the turnover, and it directly leads to points. He did some of the little things offensively as well, with his chemistry alongside Luka on full display. He screens for Luka to get the switch onto Christie, meaning PJ is going to have to help if Luka is able to get the driving angle. Knowing this, Finney-Smith is going to set another screen as Luka's driving to stop PJ Washington in his tracks so Luka can get a completely wide open look at the rim. Seeing the contributions that the Lakers got from guys like Finney-Smith, Jackson Hayes, Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, all while Luka is still not quite back to 100%, makes me optimistic for what the Lakers can do in a postseason setting. But ultimately, the big story of this game was Luka getting his get back against the team that traded him, and I'd say it delivered. Really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, as always, consider leaving a like and subscribing. Regardless, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.